People need an income that's guaranteed to them.
If you lose money to taxes, you're never getting that money back.
You need to get serious about adding some lower risk.
Greed. I don't like greed.
The thing to be afraid of, honestly, is the thing that we're not thinking of, the black swan event.
There's a tsunami coming. Bye.
Welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Just coffee talk.
There's a lot of noise, a lot of chatter. Who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? You have to stay focused.
A fun and informative look at the issues of wealth, retirement, and protecting your life savings.
These advisors out there that were trained to sell, and have all these fees. They don't want to talk about this product, so they make less money.
And now, Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Hello again, and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. You can find us, of course, online, zinniawealth.com, and we'll talk more about that and why we are here. We are here really to talk about you and your retirement. We talk about markets, and we talk about the ups and the downs and the green arrows and the red arrows, but what does it mean to you, and how are you handling all this right now, and are you ready, and do you have that person that you need to help you, to guide you through retirement? That's what Charisse does. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Summer's been wonderful, and Ella's working in the office 2 days a week, and she's here with us on radio today.
Hey, Ella, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I understand you drove Mom over to the office today. You're behind the wheel now. You're 15.
I am.
Okay. All right. How's that all going?
It's been a lot of fun. You know, some crazy drivers out there, but
Yep.
You got on the interstate for the first time.
Yep.
I did.
And Mom got to take a nap.
You were able to sleep when your daughter's driving?
That's how much I trust this lady.
Wow, that's
I know.
incredible. Okay, so here's my advice for you, Ella, is every time, even today, my wife tells me when I walk out the door, she goes, look out for stupid. Because there's a lot of stupid out there. People do dumb things. And that's, that whole driving defensively, watch out for stupid. That's the advice, okay?
I will take that.
There you go.
I woke up a half hour later and I looked over and she's going 80. I'm like, we are not going 80, young lady, on the interstate. I was like, now I can't go back to sleep.
Well, I learned from the best.
Well, 80 I can go, but your first time in the interstate, you can't get that confident. We were driving down south and I just did not get any sleep the night before. And we woke up early and I'm like, Ella, I might need you to really step up and drive. And she needs to before she gets her driver's license.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. That was one of the most difficult things I did. I had to teach 3 kids to drive, and we would go to parking lots, and they would make a mistake, or they would stop too fast, or they would do something, and I go, okay, we got to try that again. That's not what we. And they look at me and they go, well, it's your fault. And I said, why? She goes, because you taught me.
That's awesome.
Never take the blame. All right. Well, Ella, your mom is in financial services, and I can't imagine growing up in a house with a financial advisor. So tell me, what has Mom taught you about money? Tell me a little bit about this. I'm intrigued.
Well, she has always taught me to put your money away wisely. Like, she created 3 jars for us. We had a saving, a spending, and a charity jar.
Nice.
Every Christmas, we would get money out of our savings and go buy presents for our family. And for the charity jar, we would always be able to choose whatever charity we wanted to donate to and what we wanted to do with that, to give it to the people. And then we would save the savings, and we would also put some of that into the stocks too.
Oh my, we're investing, huh? Oh, cool.
I miss those jars. We actually stopped doing that last year.
Okay.
We got something else now. What is it? Green light?
Yes, we have green light accounts. Me and my brother both do.
What is a green light account? What does that do?
So it's where you have your own account, and Mom has automatically, like, it puts the money in our account every month after we do our chores.
Okay.
And the money automatically, it's like the jars. It automatically goes into saving, spending, and then do whatever you want with it. And like, you can put into charity and whatever. And that money automatically also goes into stocks too.
Interesting. All right. And I mean, can you actually spend with this card? Is almost like a credit card?
Yes.
Nice.
But
But it's in the freezer now in a block of ice, right?
Basically.
we can't figure out why her card's not working, and we just haven't made time. So the account where she's allowed to spend, she hasn't spent a dime in a year.
It's okay. Savings always good.
I love it. I love it. All right.
yeah.
Well, bringing the next generation up, that's a good thing. And we talk about that all the time because there are people who are in retirement who are still supporting their kids. And it takes a lot of money out of their own pocket for their own retirement. So you're not going to be that person. All right.
Yeah. And when you start early with the grandkids and the kids and you're doing $20 a month, it goes a long way. You have millions by the time you're 65 and you're just making those good practices and
That's
good
awesome.
memories.
All right.
Don't ask her what stocks to buy.
Well, as Warren Buffett says, buy the stuff that you know. And, if you like a certain amount, tennis shoes or a store or whatever it is, invest in that because you know it.
What's your favorite 3 stocks, Ella?
I would say probably like Nike.
I'm surprised you're saying Nike
Why?
because you only wear your Birkenstocks everywhere you go.
I love those, but they fall apart easily.
Okay. All right. So longevity, the tennis shoe, everybody needs that.
Okay.
What else?
All
What
right.
else?
I like Shein.
Okay.
What is she?
So like it's a store where you can buy online clothes and like little stuff, basically jewelry and all that. And
but
it's been really popular lately, but I feel like it might go down. So if I had to choose a store, I would choose Amazon.
Amazon, the store. That's funny.
All right.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah. I would. I just heard about Shein. My friend Taryn said, it's like a one-time wear.
Okay. All right. But she's doing what Warren Buffett says. She's investing in what she knows. That's nice. All right. Well, why don't we get to it here a little bit and talk a little bit about how we can help you in retirement. And the way that we're going to start today is this. The people over at CBS are doing kind of an interesting thing. They're following some couples that are preparing to retire. And every now and then they check in with them. And in April, when the market went down like 20% and then went back up again, and it's been all over the place, they said, well, this is probably a good time to check in, see how people are feeling. So this couple is in Boston, Alicia and Chu Gomez. And this is kind of interesting. This is Alicia talking about how she feels about the market.
I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. You just hope that if we're going to be on the downturn now, will we be on the upturn when we decide to retire?
All right, I got a bunch of questions about this. Okay, so they're 57 and 59 years old, and she says, I don't know if I want to be on this roller coaster. Do they have to be on the roller coaster, Charisse?
No, definitely not. It really depends on when they're going to retire. I mean, if they're going to retire at between 62 and 65, they certainly can get off the roller coaster ride and invest in alternatives that are safe. Maybe make a little bit less interest, right? I mean, anything that's safe, you take away interest. But a lot of people, Randy, when they're getting close to retirement, they're just over the roller coaster ride. I mean, we're barely back to even to where we were last time it went down. So people get very frustrated and aggravated with the downs because they don't understand, okay, it takes longer to go back up and then it goes back down again. I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride a little bit, right? And, we seek risk management. That's the key here, especially for people like that are like, really it's talking them off the ledge saying, hey, listen, it's okay to have some money in the stock market and it's going to go up and go down, but we always know it goes up, right? When you get the hardy staples of our world types of funds or stocks, etc. I said, but we can pull, 60 or 50% to the side and put those in 4 or 5 different baskets that are either safer or no losses whatsoever and strategize that way. Because most people in retirement will survive off the safe strategy, still potentially have that legacy at the end of the day, and then still have a good spending plan and be able to go on those trips that they want. But everyone, unfortunately, Randy, feels like we got to have double-digit returns. We've done this our entire lives. Now we're getting ready to retire. My family, they stay invested in the market. They have this, they have that. We got to stay invested. And you really don't. Don't get me wrong. I love money in the stock market. I love stocks. I love dividend funds. I love it all. But you do not have to survive retirement with money in the stock market. Even though I will advise maybe a little bit, you do not have to. Because when we do our income plans and we roll out, hey, this is your income and here's the minimum rate of return, people are running out of money, right? Unless you're just going to overspend past our plan, of course.
Well, it's pretty common for people in their category, 57, 58, 59 years old, to look at your retirement account and go, gee, I wish that number could be bigger. So let's kind of push all in and see if we can really make a run right before we retire. And that's kind of what she said at the end. I just hope it's going to be up when we retire.
Yeah.
Well,
hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, you can't control that one, can you? Imagine you retired in 2007 and then 2008 happened and down she goes right when you retire. That's not where you want to be, is it?
No. Hope is not a plan, obviously. A lot of people do retirement that way. What ends up happening is that people don't retire right when they think they're going to retire because the hope doesn't always work, right? Let's say you have a $900,000 401k right now and you're thinking, okay, I don't want to retire until it gets to $1 million. And I hope in the next 3 years, that's where it goes based on the returns we've seen over the last 3 years. The chances of that happening is probably not very likely, right? And then if it happens to be like a worldwide market decline, the market goes down, your 401k just turned into a 201k. So that $900,000 is now probably $450,000 or somewhere close to it. And now you're really not retiring till the bottom of this market bottoms out, which could take a year, 2 years, 3 years, like we've seen in 2007 and 8, like we saw in 2000 to 2002. And then the crawl out of this hole takes 4 to 5 years. So retirement won't be on your side if you don't start strategizing before you retire.
Yeah, it's kind of like we talk about driving down the road and you see that yellow sign and it's got the squiggly line in it and it says dangerous curves ahead. So what do? Do you stop? No, you don't stop. You pull off the gas a little bit and maybe apply the brake a little bit. And that's kind of what we're talking about here when you get into your late 50s and early 60s. We're not saying get out of the market. We're saying just pull back a little bit. And so that risk level isn't as high as it was earlier in life. Here's our number. Here's our website, 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680. Give us a call. Get a date on the calendar. Let's sit down and talk about what you've done for retirement and how we can help. You can also use our website. Real easy. ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. There's a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. That's exactly what it is. It's a free meeting to sit down and talk about you, your retirement, and your concerns. Again, ZinniaWealth.com or 833-368-3680. So if you look at financial news, you go to Yahoo Finance or you go to CNBC or you go to Fox Business, any of these places, you're going to see articles. And many times these articles are going to be, this is how much you should have saved at age 50 and at age 60. And this is how much you should be ahead. And you look at those numbers and you compare yourself to everybody else. They know in the media that you love this stuff. There's an article in Market Watch right now that says that is not a good idea. How many times, Charisse, have you sat down with people and they put it out in front of you, out on the table? Here's all my stuff. How am I doing compared to everybody else?
Yeah, that happens more than you think. They're like, so how do I compare it to the other clients?
Yep.
Sometimes they don't want to hear, right?
Right.
Some don't ask at all. And then some just say, I feel like I haven't saved enough. That's probably what I get the most. They're like, I just don't feel like I've saved enough. That person will have $2 million. I'm thinking, all right, this is going to be a fun appointment because you have saved enough. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you why. And then on your second appointment, I'm going to prove it to you on the income plan and our tax strategies. And I get that probably more than anything. I don't feel like I saved enough, Charisse. I wasn't sure if I should come in and see your team. I'm like, oh my gosh, it is amazing how often I see that. So I always say, don't compare yourself to other people. Ella's raising her hand over here.
Oh, okay.
Yes, darling. You have something to say. You're writing something down.
Well, I was just thinking that whenever you were talking about how people come in and ask how they are compared to other people, it kind of reminds me of like when you're in a race and you're trying to beat other people and you're asking like, how am I doing? You're looking around. Where's everybody else? But you should really be worried about yourself and always trying to make yourself better and grow in your own way.
And beat your own time instead of worry about everybody else's time.
Exactly.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's part of our personal economy. Take care of your personal economy. Good job, Ella.
I love it.
That was quick
So stop looking at those articles and let's do your math. Every single show we say this. Let's do your math on retirement and figure out where you want to be and how we can help you get there. You know, you got some things that you want to do in retirement. You've saved money. Let's put the money with the dreams and let's figure out how your retirement picture looks. You might be surprised at what we find. 833-368-3680 is our number. 833-368-3680 or use our website, ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. There's a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. We'll ask you to put in a little information there, and Sharice and the team will reach out to you, and we'll start the conversation. All right, so here we go. You put 100 people in a room, and you say, all right, how many of you, raise your hand if you've saved $1 million for retirement? Of that 100 people, how many people put their hand up? The answer is 3. 3% of Americans have saved $1 million for retirement. Are you feeling a little bit better now? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to you 97%ers, okay? All right. So, Sharice, somebody walks in, let's say, with $500,000. That's a little bit more common. And then you have another person who walks in with $1.5 million or $2 million, like you've said. Is there a lot of difference in the planning between the person who has $500,000 and the person who has a lot more?
You know, it's funny because categories do walk into our office. So we'll see the 500, the 750,000, and then we'll see the 750 to the 1.2 million, and then we'll see that 1.2 to 1.8, and then you go from 1.8 to 3 million. So there are different strategies for the different segments, right? But it really just depends, because actually it's really not that much of a difference between if you have 500,000 or if you have 3 million.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, what it's all dependent on is your income and your income needs and how much you are going to spend, right? So if you come in with $500,000 to $700,000, but you have a good Social Security, you have a good pension, what we end up finding out is those people don't even need to touch their money.
Wow.
Right? Which is very interesting. And then they're forced to touch their money at the age of 73 when it's finally doubled or likely doubled, if not more. And now they're forced to pull money out, and then their tax bill goes up. They're like, I don't even need this money. But it doesn't matter whether you need it or not. You're forced to pull it out. And so that person will be invested just like our $1 million client and more, and probably our $3 million client. Now, if you have 500 to 700,000 and you have Social Security and no pension, we might invest a little bit differently than if you had $1 million or to $2 million. And the reason why is that we probably need to plan more for safety and income. So it is a little bit of a different strategy. Safety and income and protecting more is going to be key if we're living off Social Security, and now we got to take 4 or 5% from that investment. So we got to be extra cautious when it comes to that. Even if you have 1.5 million and you just have Social Security coming in, both types of people probably have their homes paid off and don't have any debt. But we still want to be cautionary about how much we have at risk, especially if you need, 40 to 50 grand from these types of accounts, 30, 40, 50 grand. So, but I will tell you this much. Most of our clients go into 6 to 7 baskets. And in those 6 to 7 different baskets, that's not just a 60-40 portfolio. One of the baskets might be a 60-40 portfolio. So it's a small part of your basket. But what will happen, depending if you have a 1.5 million or 700,000, you might have a higher percentage in some of these 7 baskets than the other person.
Yeah, you're kind of saying exactly what I was thinking here, is that the person who has $500,000 to $1 million is going to be more focused on risk and protection and income. But that person with a lot more wealth will have those same concerns. But are we talking more about tax strategies there than we would be maybe with the other person?
So honestly, our tax strategies are for everyone. Whether you got 500 grand or you got $5 million or $20 million, whatever the number is, our tax plan is for everyone. Because if you do have 500,000 and you're not going to plan on spending it to later, 73 or 75, for example, because maybe you do have a good Social Security and pension, we don't want that 500 grand to turn to $1 million in all taxable money. So we'll work on that tax plan for people who have that $500,000 and above, because it's probably going to be necessary. Now, if you're going to spend most of your money or spend every dollar based on your last breath, then there probably is not going to be much of a tax strategy, right? Like, and again, we can't really predict that either. And, but tax planning is key for everyone because Uncle Sam, there's no guarantee taxes won't go up in the future. And I certainly don't think they're going to go down anytime soon, especially in the next 20 years. And so we want to make sure that the legacy to the kids is not going to be hugely taxable either. And then the surviving spouse gets really hit hard with taxes because, you know, the standard deduction gets nearly cut in half and your tax bracket goes up and you still need your income and you have 25% less income because you lose the Social Security. So we got to talk about that tax plan too. So there's different phases of our tax plan and who it's for. And if you said, you know what, I don't care, Charisse, and my kids can disinherit the tax problem, then that's fine too, right? But we're at least going to show you.
One of the things that is kind of fun that you and I have been doing this show for 13 years, I can think about some of the conversations that you and I have had. And I remember finding an article one time, and some of these people were actually in the villages in Florida, and they were talking to people that had $1 million. And they said, how are you doing with your retirement? What are your concerns? And it didn't make any difference if they had a pension, if they had, you know, inheritance, whatever they had. The concerns were the same. People are people. People who have $5 million are still worried about running out of money.
They are.
People who have $500,000 are worried about running out of money.
They are.
So you have to solve the same problem psychologically for people as you do whatever kind of wealth that they have, don't they?
Yeah. And it's so interesting because 20 years ago when I got in this business, I never would have thought that, right? I thought, you know, the more money you save, the more secure and confident you were. And most people retire and they're not spending enough money because they are worried about running out of money, right? And so our job is to show you a plan, a written plan. 1 out of 5 retirees have those things, and we do provide that here, which will help with the confidence throughout the next 30 years. And we adjust it every year if it needs to be adjusted, and you kind of see where you're at. You know, and it's important to have that.
You're listening to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, you can find us at zinniawealth.com. That's ZINNIA wealth.com. When you get to the website there, you're going to see a gold box that says complimentary retirement consultation. Just click on that, and we'll have you put a little information in there, a little contact information, and then our team is going to reach out to you with basically this question: what are you concerned about? How can we help? And we'll start a conversation there. You can also bypass that and just give us a call and start that process that way. It's 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680. The main thing here is what we talk about every week. You're concerned, you're worried about retirement. How is this all going to turn out? You don't have anybody to help you right now. You don't know where to turn. Well, Charisse has been on the radio for an awfully long time, and you've been hearing the show all these years. Why don't you just come on in, and we'll do your retirement math, and we'll just get started right there. As Charisse says, you know, maybe we're a good fit, maybe we're not, but let's find out. Again, 833-368-3680. Ella is in here, Charisse's 15-year-old daughter, and if you come into the office, you may just meet Ella because she's working this summer at the office. So, Ella, is this would be this year officially your first job?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, all right. Is Mom paying you by the hour or by the day? How is this all working out for you?
Well, I mean, she's feeding me at home, so I think that's enough.
That's good. You're so smart.
Room and board. That's what I get. I love it.
She's an intern. Well, you know, in school, she goes to a Christian school, and you have to do 25 hours of extra credit.
100 to graduate. 100 hours to graduate.
Right,
Okay.
and you got to help. She helps the Grilled Cheese Foundation, and she helps here, and she learns here. So. And then she does other things out there to earn those 25 hours. So it's good. She just shoved something in my face. She's so funny. Faith can move the highest mountain. I love that. Don't be anxious about anything. Philippians 4:6, and trust in the Lord. I clearly don't talk about the Lord enough on radio. This is why she's throwing this in my face, little stickers. But since you did do that, you did have a huge award that you won at the end of the year for school. So she's going into 11th grade, but in 10th grade, she got High Honors Award. And she got the New Testament Award. So it's a Christian school. And do you know why you got it? Do you remember?
I don't know why, but I think it was just mainly because I was always like participating, and I would always put out ideas of what we were talking about, and like I just really enjoyed that class. My
The
teacher,
Bible class.
yeah,
Everybody
she
has to
was
do it, yeah.
amazing. She would always like act things out and really like draw us in. And I was really intrigued into it.
Yeah, and you are always anxious to do the prayer.
Oh yes, and we would always pray, and I would ask. I'd be like, "Hey, can I start the prayer or do the end the prayer?" And it was just always awesome.
Anyways, it's sweet. But we got retirement to talk about, Darlene.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay.
We can bring faith and retirement in any day we want.
We're about to close out the month of June here, and every month, of course, has their official declarations. You know, I don't know what June is, but, you know, it might be blueberry pie month or ice cream month or, you know, you never know. But one of the things that it is that I found out about is Dog Bite Awareness Month, okay? And this is put out by the U.S. Postal Service. So last year, the dog bite capital of the world was Houston. This year, the dog bite capital of the world is Los Angeles. Just thought you might be interested in that.
That's the most dog bites.
That's the most dog bites, okay?
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm trying to think of, maybe I'll ask Ella this. Okay, so if your mom were a dog, what kind of dog would she be?
Oh my gosh!
I think she's a big old sheepdog. That's what I think she is. She's a protector. She's a big cuddler. She's a person who takes care. I don't know if she has to bring the cask of brandy underneath her on her leash, but she is a big old sheepdog. What would you say your mom is?
That's hard.
Be honest.
Well,
we're not, everyone. We have not prepped her for this radio show at all. She's actually talking more than we planned. So let's be honest to the world. What is it?
Well, my mom, she
could go badly for me.
She's a true mama bear, so she can have her moments where she's protective and loving, and like she can get upset, but that's okay. Every parent should, and. She also has a lot of spirit in her.
Okay. She's not a little yappy chihuahua. That's not your mom.
Well, no.
So more like a rottweiler at times.
That's what I was thinking. You can be a little intense, but that's good.
Well,
that's
I think
a sheepdog and rottweiler.
So that's where I was kind of got to go with this is because if your mom's a sheepdog, she's got to protect people from the Rottweilers. And I think the Rottweiler out there in retirement planning is Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is ready to take a bite out of your retirement funds because so many of us have 401ks and we have IRAs and maybe you've got $1 million in there. But guess what? That's not all yours. Uncle Sam is ready to take a bite out of that at some point in your life. So, Charisse, tell me a little bit about that. People come in, do they realize that they have a partner in their retirement, and how do we lessen the bite of Uncle Sam?
Well, people don't know the power of how bad it could be or how bad it might be in the future. They understand they got to pay taxes, and everybody's like, oh, I don't really want to pay taxes. But they don't understand how big of a partnership Uncle Sam is, right? So the Rottweiler will take a bite out of your retirement. And for example, just based on today's math, if you pass away and you got $1 million, 30 to 40% of that money, that's a big bite of your retirement. It's going back to Uncle Sam, right? Because of how the inheritance gets passed on now in these IRAs since the new Secure Act will change how the legacy is passed on to your kiddos and your family. It's not the surviving spouse. But more than that, it's while you're in retirement, you could be healthy and alive and living with your spouse and live to 90, 95 years old and have $1 million retirement account. But that $1 million, you, by golly, want to see it grow. You, by golly, want to live on it and enjoy it and spend it on the grandkids, right? And if it grows and you're spending money, it's still growing. So your $1 million could be $2 million in 10 to 15 years. And so now you're in that RMD phase of life where you're forced to pull money out of your IRAs. That's your required minimum distribution phase of life. And so now you're having to take 4% out of $2 million. So that's, $80,000 extra that you probably don't want to pay taxes on, but you have to. And then if you live another 15 years and you live in your 90s, well, good gracious, that $2 million could double again, right? To $4 million. And now you're taking 8% out of that $4 million, because the older you get, you don't take 4% out of your retirement accounts every year. That percentage goes up every year. So think about in your late 80s now. Now you're 90 years old. Let's just paint the picture. You're 90 years old. You're sitting in your chair at home with your spouse. Hopefully they're still alive, or you're sitting with your kids or grandkids, and you have this $4 million IRA that's just done so good. And now you have to pull 8% out of that $4 million. That's $320,000, people.
Gosh.
Hello. Irma, you're paying $550 a month at least on your Medicare. Your taxes are a complete burden to you. And can you imagine being in your 80s and 90s and thinking, well, that's not how I expected it to go. And then when you pass away, 100% of it's still taxable. So I paint this picture because it's worse than we ever seen it in our entire lives because of how the Secure Act changed the tax rules for the legacy. And then the surviving spouse, that tax rule has always been there. So let's say you pass away and then there's a surviving spouse. And now your standard deduction's cut in half, potentially, depending on where taxes go here in the future. But right now, and then your tax margins go up and your income went down because you lost a little bit of Social Security, but yet you don't want to change the way that you live. So you still need your income. So taxes are an anchor that is not a good anchor, right? Mm-hmm. It's sinking to the bottom,
right?
And keeps going up, and your accounts keep growing, and the tax percentage you have to pull out keeps going up. And then if Uncle Sam and the government decide, hey, we're going to raise your marginal tax brackets, it gets uglier. So we want to make sure working on this tax plan is upfront. We're very diligent, and we're going to be very personal about it. And we're going to be very honest, like, should you or shouldn't you? And here's the outlook in 20 years and 30 years, if you happen to live that long, like, how much do you really want to get back to Uncle Sam? But right now, taxes are on sale. So why wouldn't we take care of that business now? Mm-hmm. So I did a really great class in the Villages the other day, and every single person was on their edge of their seats. I was on fire that day. That was probably one of my best shows, my best workshops I've done in a long time, because I was just hit with a client that got hit with his legacy problem, and their parents didn't do anything, and now they're stuck with the bill. So now I'm having to retweak my tax plan with them. It's not fair, but it is what it is. So we can plan, but if you don't plan at all, where does that lead you? It leads you nowhere. So starting a little bit of planning will go a long way. Save hundreds of thousands of dollars to Uncle Sam, in my opinion.
There's a difference between Uncle Sam's plan and your plan. And when we talk about paying taxes, we all know we have to pay our taxes, but we don't have to overpay our taxes. If there was, there's 75,000, 100,000 pages in that tax code, and I don't know all of them. I don't know any of them. And I know Charisse doesn't know them all either, but we know the ones that can help you. And to limit that tax burden in your retirement years is something we're really going to drill down on. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. If you click on that, you'll be on your way, or just give us a call at 833-368-3680. All right, so I'm going to talk, and it's not because Ella is here. I'm going to talk about weddings here. By the way, Ella, if you kiss boys, your teeth will turn black and fall out. Just thought I'd tell you that.
Remember, Ella, my daughter is only 15. She's about to turn 16 here in August,
right.
So we're not kissing boys yet, Randy.
That's right.
I would agree with him.
And her teeth will fall out if she kisses a boy.
That's probably true.
Okay. All right. So there's one thing about going to a wedding. There's another thing about going to a destination wedding. And this is a comedian. His name is Anthony Rovistiano, and he is comparing the two.
Wedding invites back in the day used to sound a little bit like Jess and Mike are getting married at the church down the street, reception to follow. If you cannot make it, we still love you. But if you do make it, we are so very grateful that you are spending our special day together. Wedding invites today. Jess and Mike are getting married at a 16-star resort in the Dominican Republic. We have reserved a block of hotel rooms for a cheap price of $1,700 a night. If you have children, please spend the money to hire a babysitter because we do not want them on our special day. We have provided you with 58 links on our wedding website. It's probably best that you take the remainder of your PTO that you have on us to celebrate our day. We really hope you can make it. If you do not, I promise you we will hate you for the rest of our life.
That is funny. That is so true.
Have you been to a destination wedding, Charisse?
I have.
Okay.
And they don't want your kids.
Nope.
And you're going to pay for your own stuff.
Yep.
Which is of course, fine, and it gives you a reason to go on a trip. But that is how it rolls today.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
It's not just renting a tux or buying a dress anymore. It's all of a sudden now it's thousands of dollars to go see your friends get married. And if you are grandpa and grandma in retirement and your granddaughter looks at you and said, "We're going to get married in Santorini, Greece. Can you come?" And you go, "Holy cow, I didn't count on that one."
Do you know how many families we have funded here at Zinnia Wealth Management for weddings for grandkids and their daughters? A lot. And I just have to close my eyes and be like, I don't know what it's like. I'm going to imagine I'm going to be the same way. So we're over budget this year on our spending plan. And but just so you know, most people do tell me ahead of time, "Hey, Sharice, and next year I got a wedding to fund, or 2 years or 3 years, or hey, probably 5 years. Let's make sure that's a bucket we're working on." So we do. So nobody just calls me out of the blue, "Hey, I'm funding a wedding." So we plan it as part of our retirement income planning phase usually. And that typically happens on appointment 2. And if you don't disclose it on appointment 2, you eventually tell me, you're like, "All right, we got chunks of money here we got to pull out, Sharice."
Yep. So that is what I would refer to as an unexpected expense, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's I'm going to go on a trip and I'm going to take the kids on a cruise, or it's the roof is leaking, or the water heater went, or the car is just, that's it, you got to get a new one. All of a sudden, these things happen in retirement. When the money's coming in from your employer, you can figure that out. When you're in retirement, it's a whole different deal. How do we account for $10,000 or $15,000 or even a $20,000 unexpected expense?
Like what I'm going through right now?
You have been just open wallet and just take. That's Sharice's life now.
I've had my own domino effect. So whether you are retired and you have an unexpected expenses, or when it rains, it pours at your house like it is at mine right now, between a roof gone bad, an AC that just went bad, electrical just went bad.
And you were talking about the car too. You got to get a new car. So
oh my gosh, it rains and pours.
Yeah.
But I personally, I have a bucket for that. I never have to use it. I am actually using it for the first time in many years. And thank God I have that bucket. But that bucket's always been my more conservative bucket personally. And anyone else that we work with, I have that emergency bucket, and we want that bucket to be a little bit more conservative. So when we are building out income plans, we're front loading people's income. And what I mean by that is during your go-go years, you're going to spend more money. And so I will have you spend more than you have ever planned. And most people have a hard time still spending that they don't spend it all. So it goes in Sharice's brain, the Zinnia Wealth brain, the emergency bucket. And so it always seems to be there for people. And but that is a more conservative bucket.
Well, that kind of tells me a lot is you have a bucket set aside for these kind of things. But at the same time, Sharice, does that mean that if we want to fill up that bucket that we have to be more at risk? We have to take on a little extra risk in the market to kind of fill that bucket up? Or can we fill that bucket up in another way?
Yeah, I would absolutely not fill that bucket up with a ton of risk. I mean, think about Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and all them. They said, have your emergency fund, your rainy day fund, right? For, hey, if my tires go out, or I need an exhaust, or a refrigerator goes out. But they don't want you to invest that money. They want you to keep it in savings checking, maybe a CD or something like that. And so we can take what they have taught you when you're growing in your money of all these years and now apply it to retirement and say, we still want that bucket. We want that rainy day fund bucket for when those things do happen. Or your daughter says, hey, I decided to get married last minute, even though I told you I'm never going to get married. I met a man in Hawaii a week ago, right? And then now you're funding something. So I would consider that a rainy day bucket. So we can be conservative in those buckets. We can still average 4 to 6% in those types of buckets. So we want that bucket, I call it our leverage bucket, to be the safe bucket that doesn't have fees, that still continues to grow, and it's always there, whether you need it for yourself personally or for family or whatnot.
Well, we talked in the past about having that $10,000 account. Every year somebody's going to have something go wrong or right in their life, and we're going to put money aside for it, whether it's the roof or the car or something like that, negative, or it's something positive, like let's take the kids on a cruise. Let's take the whole family down to a 2-week beach vacation and get a house and make a memory. These things need to be there, and we will build those into your retirement plan here at Zinnia Wealth. Give us a call. Give us a look at our website. Let's talk. Let's start that conversation about your retirement. Here's our website, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. The gold box there, it says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that. That gets you started. Or you can call us, 833-368-3680. Sharice is here. I am here. And Ella is here, too. Sharice's 15-year-old daughter. So she's on the job today. So, Ella, we appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Of course.
You like the whole radio thing? You think you could maybe fill in your mom's shoes someday and you and I will be doing this show? What do you think?
Honestly, I was actually just thinking about that. And I think my mom's job is really fun, and I think I would enjoy it.
I love it. There you go.
All the upfront things that you see.
Sharice, when you go off and you do your vacations, me and Ella will do the show, okay?
Well, you always hope your kids take over your business.
There you go.
They run it your way, and then they make it even better. And talk, I'm saying this out loud because our clients are like, how long is Sharice going to be here? She's falling through her ceilings, and even in the attic, she could really not last very long. Everybody, I fell through a ceiling. I caught myself halfway. I'm fine. I'm bruised up and beaten. But other than that, I have a backup plan here, Ella Smith.
You're a little bit like a Lucy show at your house. There's always something happening there. All right. So I mentioned it before the break. 62, you take Social Security. 65, you get Medicare. 67 is full retirement age. That's when you get your full Social Security. Now, that is called full retirement age. Some places in the world, and including the United States, we're thinking about moving that up. Right now, Denmark is moving forward. Next year, their full retirement age is going to be 66. Starting in 2040, the official retirement age will be 70. Wow. So that's really, people are living longer. They talk about why they're doing that. They say people are living longer, and it's an economic reason as well. So let me ask this. I mean, you've been at this for a while, Sharice.
Or it's a sticky finger problem the government had on Social Security all these years.
There's that too.
Okay, right. Go back to normal.
So have you changed your planning at all over these years? Because these numbers are moving up. And that people are living longer. So do you have to change your planning to say, okay, we're going to need income now. I used to figure this till 85. Now we need to figure it to 95. Have you changed any of your planning that way?
I have changed my planning so many times.
Okay.
Because, remember, full retirement age used to be age 65.
Yeah.
And now it's 67, right? And
moving up.
And so, we've had to change our strategies and Social Security strategies themselves, like file and suspend, restricted application, have also disappeared. So we used to strategize on that. So it seems like every 5 years, if I go back 20 years, it'd be about right, 4 different times, we've had to change our strategy and our income plan and how we do this. And once upon a time, every single one of our clients would wait to take Social Security at age 70 because we would do file and suspend and restricted application. And they were still drawing and then turning their own Social Securities on at age 70. It was the coolest thing out there, which means they got more in Social Security. So when the government got rid of that, then we had to re-strategize. I only had a couple of strategies. And then Social Security was moved from 65 and slowly all the way to age 67. You've also had to do that. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people who weren't able to use these Social Security strategies, a lot of them were delaying taking their Social Security, 68, 69, maybe 70, because if you delay from full retirement age, which was 67 and 66 to age 70, you got delayed retirement credits of an average of 8% a year. But even since COVID, we've rechanged our strategy because I saw so many people pass away and not even collect a stinking check. So there's got to be a happy medium because we cannot hope, we cannot predict we're going to live this long and, everything's going to be fine. So I call it the happy medium right in the middle of the road strategy. And I let clients decide and I build it into the income plan. And I'm like, well, what if one of you, the one that doesn't have a very high Social Security checks, collected at 62? So this is our newer strategy since COVID. And then The higher income earner collects theirs at 67 because when one person passes, it's always a smaller one that falls off. And you get basically the easiest way to understand this, you get to keep the larger check. And if you don't have a pension, it could bring it saves a household when there's only one spouse still alive because we have more money. And then if somebody dies earlier, at least somebody collected a check at 62, right? So there is a math equation that goes into all this. And even to this day, we do still have a couple of people that are still delaying to age 70 because of maybe they're still working or they have big pensions and they're trying to roll IRAs over to a Roth and they don't want to get hit with bigger taxes. So again, it's an ongoing strategy and it's ever evolving and moving. And this is why it's so important to work with a retirement planner that understands your investments and understands your income plan, but understands Social Security. Because if it's, in my opinion, we've changed 4 times in 20 years. And because we understand this, isn't that valuable to people? And it is. And people love that.
I think that no matter what they do with these numbers, and they keep moving them up, and I understand why, because people are living longer. But the fact of the matter is there's some people that work in offices and they're going to be just fine physically. But there are other people that have jobs that are going to make them want to retire at 62 or 65. That's never going to change. And we all know that there are some of us that like our jobs and we want to just keep going and going and going as long as we can. And there are others that are just, I can't do this one more day.
Yes.
And you're going to have those kind of people as well. That's not going to change. So you're going to have to know how to retire people in their 60s and probably in their 70s. That's not going to change, is it?
No, it won't. And right when you think you're going to retire, you're forced out 5 years or 3 years early. Sometimes you think you're going to retire at a certain age and you're like, no, I really love my job. I'm going to work longer or I'm going to do part-time. So life changes very quickly. And I say every 5 years, there's always big jumps, leaps, and changes in our clients' lives and just people I know in general.
Well, that's what we want to make sure you know from this show is that no matter what comes your way, we would love to be able to sit down and talk to you, build that retirement plan that's right for you. If you want to retire at 65 and at 62 you come in and you want to, that's your date, and then all of a sudden, you know, the math works out and hey, you can retire at 63. Wouldn't that be an interesting meeting, you know? And we would love to have that opportunity just to talk through all of that with you. Give us a call or give us a look on our website, ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. There's a gold box there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that and our team will reach out to you. Or you can give us a call, 833-368-3680. Again, 833-368-3680, and we'll start the conversation there. Sharice, that is all the time we have on this one. I will give you the last word.
Well, my goal here is to inspire a confident retirement for everyone, a confident and joyful retirement. So hopefully we're doing that. Ella, thank you for coming in today and doing radio with us, my lovely daughter. And I'll let you close it out.
Live by design and not by default. And we'll see you here next week.
This has been Retirement Coffee Talk. To find out more about how the strategies we've discussed on this program can build the retirement you've been wanting, call Zinnia Wealth at 352-368-3680 or visit us online at ZinniaWealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. The firm only conducts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded from registration requirements. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Insurance products are offered through Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC, Florida license L078655, and Sharice Rivers, Florida license P037744. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, and Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC are affiliated entities. The information presented is believed to be current. It should not be viewed as personalized investment advice. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the presenter on the date of the podcast and are subject to change. The information presented is not an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation of any offer to buy or sell any of the securities discussed. You should consult with a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Any legal or tax information provided in this podcast is general in nature. Always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation. Any client experience discussed on this show are unique to that client. Annuity and life insurance guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. If you withdraw money from or surrender your contract within a certain time after investing, the insurance company may assess a surrender charge. Withdrawals may be subject to tax penalties and income taxes. Persons selling annuities or other insurance products receive compensation for these transactions. These commissions are separate and distinct from fees charged for advisory services. Insurance products also contain additional fees and expenses. Social Security rules and regulations are are subject to change at any time. Always consult with your local Social Security office before acting upon any information provided herein. References to specific investments should not be construed as being past specific recommendations. The returns for various indices discussed in this podcast do not represent the performance of the firm or any of its advisory clients. Returns do not reflect the impact that advisory fees will have on an investment. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All investment strategies have potential for profit or loss. Different types of investments involve higher and lower levels of risk. There is no guarantee that a specific investment strategy will be suitable or profitable for an investor's portfolio. Historical performance returns for investment indexes and/or categories usually do not deduct transaction and/or custodial charges or advisory fees, which would decrease historical performance results. There are no guarantees that a portfolio will match or outperform a specific benchmark. Investments in fixed income products are subject to liquidity risk, market risk, index rate risk, credit risk, inflation risk, purchasing power risk, and taxation risk. Because bond prices fluctuate continually, their yields change constantly.